Commander 2018 week continues with more Yuriko zombie ninjas. Hey guys, I want to take a quick second to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. I really appreciate the support. If anyone else wants to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Welcome back everyone, playing some Yuriko the Tiger Shadow, Game 2, Zombie Ninjas. Taking a look at our opening hand, we're going to have to mulligan that. We do have Soul Ring and a 1-drop, which is nice, but we have only 1 blue mana, which is very off color for what's going on in our hand. There's only 36 lands in the deck, so I really don't want a chance trying to draw a swamp off the top, so we're going to mulligan that. So mulligan that hand. It's another 1-lander. We're going to have to mulligan down to 6, which I don't love. Maybe less islands in the deck also. Yeah, I guess we're keeping this one. Swamp on top? Yeah, I guess we keep the swamp, and we're just going to have to try to draw with Yuriko a whole bunch. So we draw that swamp, play the Underground Sea, tap out and pass. Grenzo Havoc Razor coming down for the Xantcha opponent. That's a spicy one. Tattered Mummy coming down. Interesting. When it dies, each opponent loses 2 life. Let's bring it back to our turn. We draw a Death Baron. That'll be useful. Play the Swamp. Play the Sword of the Animist. And pass the turn. Grenzo going on the attack. Going to swing into the Shirei opponent. And that's going to trigger Grenzo Havoc Razor. Let's see which mode they decided to go with right here. Goes for the Exile a Card mode. Hits a Mirror Retriever. Bet that's part of a combo. And then they're going to cast their Xantcha. So when Xantcha enters the battlefield, an opponent of your choice gains control of it. We'll see where they put it. It attacks each combat if able and can attack its owner or a planeswalker its owner controls. They give it to us. Sweet. Any player may pay 3. Xantcha's controller loses 2 life and you draw a card. Any player may activate that ability. So really interesting commander, really unique play style. So if you're looking for something different, Xantcha is a pretty good commander to check out. Although Xantcha may not be long for this world with this big game hunter coming in. And Xantcha goes back to the command zone, goes down to the big game hunter, so... Ooh, we draw a Mana Crypt. That is helpful. Right here, we need to get some card draw going. So play the island, cast Yuriko. We'll play the Mana Crypt. We'll play the Mana Crypt and equip the sword. We can't attack this turn, but... Hoping Firesong doesn't have Return to Dust or a Crush Contraband on their turn. That'll get us pretty bad if it does. Holds their mana open and passes. If nothing else, the sword will help us to prevent being attacked by Grenzo or these other smaller creatures on board. Opponent's going to lay down a Curse of Chaos. Whenever a player attacks the enchanted player with 1 or more creatures, the attacking player may discard a card. If the player does, they draw a card. Actually, you know what? That's a card that I've looked at for Aurelia in the past. It's probably worth giving another look to. I haven't played it in a while, but back then it was only mediocre. It wasn't doing a ton for me. But in a Xantcha deck, it makes a lot of sense since people basically have to be attacking if you give them Xantcha. So, and they're going to put that on the Firesong opponent. Sounds good to me. I'm a little bit nervous about attacking into the Firesong opponent with all that open mana. But at the very least, this curse should be a good target for artifact and enchantment removal out of the Firesong. So hopefully we can protect some of our stuff that way. And opponent's going to send the Grenzo into the Firesong, and it's going to trigger the Curse of Chaos. Ooh, it only cares about attacking. It doesn't care about damage resolving, so that's good. Opponent discards a Trespasser's Curse, so it looks like they're playing Xantcha Curses. And Grenzo's going to trigger. Ooh, exiles a Mana Crypt off the top. That's a huge loss for the Firesong opponent. And they can cast a Mana Crypt. It is free. So Mana Crypt coming down. And Lightning Greaves. Good turn out of the Xantcha opponent. Moves the boots over to the Grenzo. Skursdag High Priest coming into play. And a Mirror Sire. When it dies, create a 1/1 colorless mirror artifact token. Sweet. Opponent's going to send the big game hunter into the Firesong opponent. They'll get to loot 1. Discards a Sudden Spoiling. That's a good one. So Firesong down to 37 brings it back to our turn. Mana Crypt flip. Let's go Tails. Can use a big draw right here. Diregraph Colossus. Okay. There are better things. Thinking maybe discard the land. We'll see. I hate missing land drops, but I do like both of the creatures that we have in hand. Not a lot of removal in our deck, but Imprison in the Moon is pretty good. If we don't discard the land, then we can cast both of our zombies on our main phase 2. What do we discard? Thran Dynamo is just too good to discard. Maybe it's Imprison. We should go no removal. It's always a good idea, right? Get rid of the removal. Swing into the Firesong opponent. So Sword of the Animist will trigger, Curse will trigger. Ooh, opponent's going to Deflecting Palm. Which means we won't draw with Yuriko. Interesting. Does that mean no loot? Yeah, I think that actually means no loot. If we were going to draw, I'd feel better about it, but based on what we have, I actually like the stuff that we have, and I think it's only going to get worse. So we will not loot at this time. we will use the Sword of the Animist. Let's get a Swamp. Our deck is pretty black heavy on its mana costs. So our damage gets prevented, it gets sent back to ourselves. We go down to 38. We do not get the card draw right there because Deflecting Palm does the damage and not Yuriko on that interaction. So we'll drop down this Verdant Catacomb, crack the Verdant Catacomb. We're going to get Sunken Hollow. Comes in untapped. Going to play Death Baron. Oh, nope, we're okay. We're okay. I should have did that in reverse. I opted to go with the more plus... Yep. Oh, I totally did that the wrong way. Crap. I was confusing Diregraph Colossus with Unbreathing Horde right there is what happened. I wouldn't mind seeing a wheel effect out of one of these red opponents. Kind of make up for the fact that we had to mulligan. And that's a Fumigate, so everything getting blown up right there. So each opponent's going to lose 2 life off the Mummy, and opponent gets a 1/1 Mirror token. And Firesong goes up to 43. If opponent recasts Xantcha for any reason, we are going to try to draw as many cards as possible with that thing. So Xantcha coming into play, that's what I like to see. They give control of it to the Firesong and Sunspeaker opponent. And yeah, I'm thinking about doing some card drawing. As long as Shirei doesn't blow this thing up. Marsh Flitter coming into play. There's one I haven't seen in a long time. Enters the battlefield, makes 2 1/1 black Goblin Rogue creature tokens, and can sacrifice a Goblin and turn it into a 3/3 until end of turn. It's going to bring it back to our turn. We get a Mana Crypt flip. Let's go, Tails. Lost the flip. It's a great Merchant of Asphodel. Not too impactful when you have no black mana symbols in play. So we're just going to hang on to that for a moment. Yeah, let's start by drawing some cards. We draw Cavern of Souls, play the Cavern of Souls, name Zombies, play this Thran Dynamo, and draw one more card. It's an island. So we'll stay put like that. Making up a little bit of our card draw right there off of the Xantcha. So that was helpful. Also, bringing the Firesong opponent down just a little bit in life, which can be relevant when they start looking for Aetherflux Reservoir. Keeping their life total nice and low will be a good idea. Opponent's going to play an Idyllic Tutor. Oh boy. A lot of nasty enchantments in white. Let's see what they're going for. Luminarch Ascension, I think, is one that they run. Though that might be tough with the 1/1s out there. Though we don't have haste from anything. I probably need to get some boots in here. Authority of the Consoles is a card. Got absolutely wrecked by that the other night when I was playing Sylvia and Korvath. I didn't film that one, but I would have had so much additional damage into our opponent. I think I recasted Sylvia and Korvath probably 3 or 4 times between the two of them. And the fact that they kept coming in tapped meant that haste does nothing. And they were able to respond to them before we were able to untap quite a bit. So we lost a lot of damage into that Authority of the Consoles. Plus the fact that they were gaining life, and they eventually got there with all the life gain, and Aetherflux came down eventually and all that. So Authority of the Consoles, good card. Opponent's going to send Xantcha into the Shirei, and they'll block with the token. Opponent wins the Mana Crypt flip. It stays at 35. So Xantcha opponent going to draw with the Xantcha ability, and going to draw one more time. That's more or less what our last turn looked like. Lightning Coils, uh-oh. What does this do? Original Mirrodin, you know it's going to be weird. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, put a charge counter on Lightning Coils. At the beginning of your upkeep, if Lightning Coils has 5 or more charge counters on it, remove all of them and create that many 3/1 red elemental creature tokens with haste, exile them at the beginning of the next step. Wow. That's something. Could be pretty good in that deck. That's going to bring it back to our turn. Mana Crypt flip. Lost the flip. Here's a wonder. So play the island, draw a card. It's a swamp. Cast our commander. Oh, it's going to be 5. Rough. Oh, overtapped by 1. Authority of the Consoles will trigger. And I will lay down the Wonder as a blocker. Would like to get it into the graveyard at some point. Oh, right. Yep, it comes in tapped. Oops. Well, it can block next turn. Now, if we could find another creature with double black in it before the Great Merchant of Asphodel, then we can play that and get a significant amount of life back, which would be a good idea. There's a Pyromancer's Goggles for the Firesong and Sunspeaker. That one's going to be pretty good. Opponent's going to draw with the Xantcha ability. Will cost them a bit of life. Xantcha swinging back into the Shirei. Sounds good to me. Opponent blocks with a token, a creature dies, and the Death Greeter allows them to gain 1 life. Would love to find some of our bigger stuff in the deck now. We have a lot of mana and not that much to do with it. Here comes a Kulrath Knight. Ooh. So for those that don't know, it has Flying Wither, which means it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters. Creatures your opponents control with counters on them can't attack or block. And they're going to put the boots on it. It does come in tapped thanks to the Authority of the Consoles, though. And actually, Authority of the Consoles will shut down that Lightning Coils now that I'm thinking about it. So we're going to keep drawing with the Xantcha. So far, the last few turns of this game have been everyone tap out to draw with Xantcha. Everyone trying to generate some advantage. We've actually got a lot of lands in play. Turn 7, we've hit all of our land drops. That's a great place to be. Plus, we've accelerated with Mana Crypt, Sword of the Animists, and Thran Dynamo. So I guess we technically miss one land that we made up with Sword of the Animist. So they bring it back to our turn. Mana Crypt flip. Gonna try to win this flip. Been losing a lot of them. Let's go, heads. Lost the flip. Ugh. There's a Rooftop Storm. That's fun. Let us equip Sword of the Animist. Who do we put it on? Put it on Yuriko. We're gonna leave the Wonder back as a blocker. Firesong is tapped out. We're gonna swing into them. I also want to loot that land away. So swinging in, we get the Curse of Chaos trigger and the Sword of the Animist trigger. So we're going to loot the swamp. We draw a land. So that's exactly why I did that. I figured we'd probably draw into another land at some point. Anyway, so might as well get through as many of those as we can. Use the Sword of the Animist. We have some blue mana. We have some black mana. I guess it doesn't matter too much. Grab a swamp. Comes in tapped. So Yuriko hits. Opponent's going to take 2 damage. We draw a Pact of Negation. That can be helpful. Play the Scalding Tarn. Play Rooftop Storm. Overtapped a little. That's okay. We're just going to draw some cards with the Xantcha ability. Crack the Scalding Tarn. Let's just get an island. And then we'll draw with Xantcha. It's an ambitions cost. Can't do much with that right now. So I guess we pass the turn like that. I don't think we're in danger of dying to anything. Plus we have Pact of Negation, so if something really bad should happen, we can counter it. Hopefully we'll be able to hit a couple zombies soon. We lost the 2 that we had. There's about 30 creatures in the deck, so should be running into more very soon. Opponent's going to cast Firesong and Sunspeaker. Sure. Opponent's going to go for the Throat our Wonder. That's interesting. Sure. Put it into our graveyard. I'm fine with that. Does leave us open for attacks a little bit. Death Greeter will trigger. I think opponent trying to incentivize the Xantcha to swing into us. Yep, Xantcha coming our way. So our life total is going to start to get low. Going to need to start thinking about the Gray Merchant, even if we don't get the most value off of it, just because I want to keep our life total nice and high. So we go down to 20, 5 commander damage. Mana Crypt flip for the Xantcha opponent. And, ooh, the Scorpion God. That's a good one. So with Scorpion God and Kolrath Knight, they can stop everything from attacking. Scorpion God can shoot all of these 1/1s and get a ton of value. Scorpion God can also keep Yuriko from attacking. That's a lot of stuff. That sounds pretty bad. I think that's worth the counterspell right here. And the fact that it can just come back from the graveyard each turn is also really annoying. So, yeah, I think that's going to be a no on the Scorpion God. Especially as we get later and later into the game and opponents find more and more mana. Oop, and that's a Plaguecrafter. So Yuriko's going to go down. Authority of the Consoles will trigger. Plaguecrafter will trigger. So we sacrifice our commander. Goes back to the command zone. Getting a little bit expensive. Would love to use that Ninjutsu ability sometime soon. And opponent sacrifices the Xantcha, so the card draw going away for the moment. Though we do have this ambitions cost. Kolrath going to swing into the Shirei. Sure. Weaponcraft Enthusiast coming into play. It can fabricate 2. Authority of the Consoles will trigger. And opponent goes for the tokens. Authority of the Consoles will trigger 2 more times. Keeping Firesong in the 30s after many Xantcha activations. Still at 33 life. That's not too bad. Ooh, that's a Carrion Feeder. Carrion Feeder seems not good, especially with Death Reader. That brings it back to our turn. We have to pay for the Pact of Negation or we'll lose it. Mana Crypt flip on us. Really like to start winning these. Let's go heads. Finally want to flip. Gotta pay for the Pact of Negation or lose the game. So pay for the trigger. We draw into a Soul Ring. Interesting. Use the Mana Crypt. Play the Soul Ring. Let's go for the Ambitions cost. Ugh. Massacre Worm, Mutavault. I guess Massacre Worm is something. Clears out all these 1/1s. Gets rid of... Opponent can sack everything in response, but it will get rid of everything except the Carrion Feeder. Also don't know if they've F6'd or not. And I guess Massacre Worm with Gray Merchant will get us some pretty good life back. So play the Massacre Worm. Oh, opponent let it hit play, which means even if they sack, they're still going to lose a bunch of life. So that's cool. They will gain... I guess they gain half of it back with the Death Greeter, but... Yep, here comes all the triggers. So a bunch of triggers on the stack. Opponent sacking, Carrion Feeder triggers, Death Greeter triggers, and Massacre Worm triggers, and Lightning Coil triggers. Opponent goes down to 33 after that exchange. Not too bad. Would have preferred a little more damage, but the Death Greeter are keeping their life total nice and healthy at that point. We're going to lay down this Mutavault, cast the Gray Merchant of Asphodel for freeze. It's going to trigger the Authority of the Consoles, and we'll pass like that. So each opponent takes 5. We go back up to 32, so our life total not looking too bad now, considering we've lost life from a lot of various places. And what's interesting at this point is that both of these are ETB effects, so if we Ninjutsu our commander, we can do it all again. And that was something that I built in intentionally. I guess that would be another way to go with this deck. You could just build all ETB creatures. That'd be kind of fun. Ooh, opponent's got Inventor's Fair, which means they can find either Flux Reservoir. They did tap out the Inventor's Fair. That's good. Firesong coming in our way. Yeah, not the best. Opponent going to crack the Myriad Landscape, get some additional lands. You need to be careful of this Pyromancer's Goggles. Even a small burn spell doubled can potentially do a lot with Firesong out. I know opponent runs Price of Progress. It wouldn't be insane, but casting 2 Price of Progresses is still a lot of life gain. This opponent passes, leaving a little bit of mana up. They got 3 mana left. I guess 4 with Pyromancers. There's a Noxious Gearhulk. Bet that's going to hit one of our things. Comes in tapped. Authority the console's triggers. Nope, gonna target the Firesong with it. Sweet. Hot soup. Never heard of that one. Colwrath Knight gonna swing into the Firesong opponent. Abyssal Gatekeeper coming into play. Ugh. So when that dies, each player will have to sacrifice a creature. And they already have the sack outlet, so that seems pretty good. Yep, so opponent's gonna go ahead and sack that Gatekeeper. It's gonna put a counter on the Carrion Feeder and on the Lightning Coils. I think I'm gonna sack the Massacre Worm right here because it doesn't, we got the Shirei with it pretty good. There doesn't seem to be a lot of other stuff that's getting hit by the Massacre Worm. So I think I'd actually rather have the Gray Merchant available to us to recast after the Nijitsu ability. So that's going to bring it back to our turn. Mana Crypt flip. Tails lost the flip. Losing more life. We draw an island. So we're going to play the Reliquary Tower. We're going to animate, put Sword of the Animist on the Gray Merchant. Gonna go to combat. Gonna animate the Mutavault. Gonna attack into the Shirei opponent just because they don't have much going on. And I really want to make sure these attacks hit. Sword of the Animist will trigger. Use the sword. Get a swamp. Running low on basics. Looks like 3 left. Our creatures do have flying from the Wonder, which is nice. We're gonna use the Commander Nijitsu ability on the Gray Merchant of Asphodel. Authority of the Consoles will trigger. It comes in tapped. And we get 2 ninja triggers. Sweet. Could use some big card draws right here. There's a land. That's not it. And another land. Wow, that's so painful. It's just hard to believe, honestly. Wouldn't mind seeing Xantcha come back to play. So I guess we recast the Gray Merchant. Get a little bit more life gain. Drain our opponents a bit more. I did have a sub life drain theme going on in this deck, but I kind of pulled it out towards the end. I had Sanguine Bond, and what's the other one? Has the same effect. Gonna put the sword on the Yuriko. And next turn, I'll probably think about attacking that Firesong opponent so we can try to loot some of these lands away because we have way too many lands at this point. Yeah, we're going to pass like that and actually hope that opponent recasts Xantcha because if they do, we'll be able to draw a lot of cards with it. So we go back up to 34, drain opponents for 3 more each. Oh, that's a Vandal Blast. That's going to hurt so bad. I guess the good news is at least we've been... Well, I'm going to float some mana just in case. Don't think it's going to do anything, but... At least we've been hitting land drops and getting lands with Sword of the Animist. Our mana situation is much better than our opponents right now. With the exception of Firesong, we're probably about tied with Firesong. And Firesong coming back to play. Yep. But I was hoping to see Xantcha again right there so that we could draw many, many cards with all of our artifact mana. Is not to be. Xantcha coming back to play. Excellent. That's exactly what I want to see. Who gets control of it? Shirei gets control of it. Sure. Opponent's going to pass. We're going to draw with Xantcha one time. And it's a Signet. Not helpful. There's 30 creatures in this deck, and we've seen, what, 3 of them? 1, 2, 3, I guess 4 with Gray Merchant? That seems just really unlikely. I mean, in the remaining 67 cards in our deck, there's like 26 creatures, is what that means. Shirei going to send Xantcha into us. Sure. No blocks. So now that Shirei's low on mana and... Ooh, Killing Wave. I'm going to pay the life, quite honestly. I really want those creatures. Opponent kills Xantcha. I was hoping to draw more cards with that. So we're going to pay 6 life. We go down to 20. So everyone paying to save their creatures other than the Xantcha. And we draw a Relentless Dead. That's something. Play the Swamp. Animate the Mutavault. I think Firesong is the biggest threat right now, honestly. Send everything at them. Still isn't going to do that much damage. But Curse of Chaos will trigger, which is important. Discard, I'm going to discard the bounce land right here. Ooh, Liliana's Mastery. That'll actually give us some attacking power, which will be nice. So we got that off the loot. We're going to get 2 Yuriko triggers. There's a land, not helpful. And another land. Are you kidding me? We have so many lands. Ugh. So we're looking at 19 lands out of our deck, and that's way more than half the lands in the deck. We're not even halfway into our deck, so that is just unlucky. Wow. So I guess... Play Liliana's Mastery, get some more zombies. Authority of the Consoles continues to trigger. Cast the Relentless Dead for free. I'm going to play Imprison in the Moon on Firesong, and then we'll play this Signet. So as long as no board wipes happen, we actually have we can actually attack for a little bit of damage next turn. I'd like to get this game moving. There's a Deafening Clarion. That's going to wipe away all of our stuff. Merchant may survive. Unfortunately, we don't have them. We can get the Relentless Dead back to our hand, which is probably what we're going to have to do. Wish we held just a bit more mana open. So Relentless Dead back to the hand. Don't have the mana for to return anything else. Kind of wish we didn't play the Signet right there. Oh, opponent doubled the Clarion. So Grey Merchant does indeed go down. Boots for the Xantcha opponent. And an archetype of aggression. Creatures can't have trample. Comes in tapped. And equip the boots. Sure. Nykthos for the Shirei opponent. And they cast their commander. Whenever a creature with power 1 or less put into the graveyard from the battlefield may return it to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. Pretty good. That's a Scarab God. That is huge. Finally getting something we can use. Play Urborg. Animate the Mutavault. Swing with Mutavault into the Firesong. Get the loot ability. Loot one of these lands. That's Rise of the Dark Realms. That's a card. It's even better than the Scarab God. Next, we're going to Nijitsu the Yuriko. Yeah, Commander Nijitsu, really good since you can circumvent the casting cost. So Yuriko in. We get to draw a card. And that's a Limdul's Vault. Drains opponents for 2. Okay, let's think about this. If we definitely want to cast Rise of the Dark Realms, we'll get Grey Merchant back. We'll get Massacre Worm back. We'll get Death Baron back and Diregraph Colossus. That's a lot of black mana symbols in combination with Relentless Dead. That's a lot of life drain from our opponents. Yeah, let's do it. Okay, so Relentless Dead with Rooftop Storm. And let's go for this Rise of the Dark Realms. Rise of the Dark Realms. Oh, that's many triggers. So opponent's going to gain a lot of life back with Authority of the Consoles. That's something. It's going to be a Fabricate Big Game Hunter. Is this a May? That is not a May. So we're going to have to find the creature that we want to destroy. Relentless Dead? Probably, actually. Yeah, I think that one makes sense. Grey Merchant's going to trigger. Marsh Flitter, Massacre Worm, Noxious Gear Hulk. I'm going to use the Noxious Gear Hulk also on the Relentless Dead. That way we'll gain the life. So each player is going to sacrifice to Plague Crafter. Going to sacrifice the Abyssal Gatekeeper. That's going to get rid of most of what's in play. Death Greeter triggers. Massacre Worm triggers. We need to sacrifice, we're going to sacrifice Wonder. Death Greeter will trigger. Use the Gear Hulk ability. Relentless Dead will trigger. Going to pay a black to get Relentless Dead back. Massacre Worm will trigger. No targets for it. Marsh Flitter will trigger. Grey Merchant will trigger. Grey Merchant takes down 2 of our opponents. Does leave Firesong, and we'll get the Weaponcraft Enthusiast. We'll fabricate, and we go to 103. Wow. So Firesong in a tough spot. They don't have access to their commander because we got it with the Imprison in the Moon. They do have Inventor's Fair. They could get Aetherflux, but they are mana short of Aetherflux right now. Oh, that's an hour of revelation. Looks like this game's not going to be over yet. Yep, guess that's going to resolve. Oh, that brings Firesong back. Ugh. How did Mutavault? Oh, right, we Ninjitsu'd Mutavault already. It's not great. Though, we can get Scarab God back and then just Plaguecrafter still a thing? No, Plaguecrafter is gone. Opponent's going to swing with Firesong. Yep. So, on our upkeep, we're going to use the Limdol's Vault. We have Newscrap Mob is decent. Liliana the Last Hope, reasonable. Midnight Draw. That's all reasonable. I think we can do better, though. Stalactite, Lord of the Undead, Bantu's Monument. Nope. Mana Drain, Conspiracy, Mikaeus, Carrion Feeder. That seems pretty good, I think. Alright, so let's go Swamp, Carrion Feeder, Conspiracy, Mikaeus, Mana Drain. So we draw Mana Drain, play the Mutavault, play Scarab God coming in, play Relentless Dead, and pass the turn like that. Opponent's going to Buried Ruin for their Pyromancer's Goggles, sure. I assume that means that opponent has something for the Pyromancers, so we're gonna counter the Pyromancer's Goggles right there. Opponent's gonna play Alhammeret's Archive, okay. Scarab God will trigger. Ooh, that Scry is gonna be helpful because we can put Conspiracy back on top. Oh, it's only Scry 1? Damn, I should have animated the thing. I think we'll be okay without Mikaeus, so I'm gonna put that to the bottom. I decided that I actually really want Conspiracy. So there's Conspiracy. Mana Drain will trigger. Play Conspiracy. I'm gonna choose Ninja. Finally getting to see the zombie ninjas. It's a zombie ninja. Animate the Mutavault. Go to combat. Our creatures still have flying from Wonder. Gonna Nijitsu the Relentless Dead. Yuriko's gonna trigger 3 times. Carrion Feeder, Swamp, and Fleshbag Marauder. Ooh, Fleshbag Marauder is good right here. Play the Fleshbag Marauder. Sack Fleshbag. Play a Swamp. Recast Relentless Dead. Check our black mana symbols. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll be 7, 8 off of the Gray Merchant. And Carrion Feeder makes 9. Opponent gonna recast Firesong and Sunspeaker. Sure. Opponent out of cards, so we'll just use the Scarab God right now. Get back. Gray Merchant. Opponent goes down to 6. And this should do it. So that brings it back to our turn. And opponent scoops it right there. My internet died for a second. I had to leave and come back. So I think they, knowing it's coming, not waiting for the last attack right there. That's totally fine. So Zombie Ninjas. After 2 games with this deck, it's fine. It didn't do quite what I hoped it would. Had a lot of trouble finding Conspiracy, Xenograph, and Arcane Adaptation. We drew half of our deck in that game. And it took us so long to find anything. And that was probably just a little bit unlucky. Like, we drew an unnaturally high amount of lands in a deck that's only running 36. So that wasn't ideal. And, the deck has tons of 3, 4, and 5 drops in it, and we just couldn't find any of them for the longest time. So that was frustrating. So the deck relies super heavily on Conspiracy and cards like that. And if you don't find them, it doesn't do what you want it to do, which is a bit of a problem. And because of all that, because I'm trying to keep the creature count high, because of things like Conspiracy, there's not that much removal in the deck, which makes it weak to a lot of things. It was also just slow doing damage. Gray Merchant of Asphodel is really what did the bulk of the damage for us this game. So not particularly fast in that regard. So certainly not the best build of Yuriko. Next thing to do would be check out some of the really low to the ground, low curve, unblockable type builds with Yuriko and see how those go. Anyway, you guys can get a quick look at what I have going on the deck here. Mana curve is balanced out decently. Probably could be just a couple less 5 drops. Would be probably a good idea. Couple 6 drops. Real light once we get to 7. Just 3 cards at 7 or greater. Overseer of the Damned because we can blink it with the Nijitsu ability. Necromantic because it's just good board wipe. We can get some stuff back. And Rise of the Dark Realms, which we obviously saw there. Pretty much always a good card. Coat of Arms, good if you have a lot of zombies out. We mostly did not have a lot of zombies out, so that was kind of frustrating. Yeah, fairly standard affair on the early half of the deck. Do have Zulaport Cutthroat for sacrifice shenanigans. I did plan on having more creatures in play to be getting some value from that, but didn't work out that way. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the deck. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.